So you want to use Webtools in the classroom. That's awesome. You're trying to engage your students, which can be hard because there are so many distractions in their lives. You want to help them master the skills in literacy, history, health, sciences, and more. Plus it will make you that techie teacher who's too cool for school. It's a great idea, at first, until you realize there are so many apps and tools to choose from. There are privacy issues, the Freedom of Information and Privacy Act. How do you know you're choosing the right tool? Keeping your students safe. And equally important, keeping yourself safe. These are all valid concerns, and here are some solutions to help get you started. Let's start with social media. Social media can include many things such as social networks, blogs, websites, forums, and wikis. Some of the more familiar social media sites include Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Google, and Flickr. There are two ways we will examine the use of social media, through a personal lens and through a professional lens. This is very important because to keep ourselves as safe as possible in the virtual world, we need to keep our personal and professional media separated. Social media can serve as a powerful tool to enhance learning, but in the digital age, the lines between personal and professional can sometimes be blurred. So as educators, we need to exert due diligence in representing ourselves as professionals in all we do while trying to accomplish using social media as an educational tool. So how do you make sure you're doing whatever you can to protect yourself? School district employees that decide to engage in professional social media activities must maintain a separate professional district email from their personal email addresses. Social media accounts for district use must be created with your professional email address. Also, let your supervisor or administrator know you are setting up a professional social media site. Any sites or groups that you are involved in should be identified as district professional sites, such as district or school identification or logos. It is very important to remember that sites that involve communicating with students are for instructional, educational, or extracurricular program services, and you should not review any personal accounts created by students. The standards for professional behavior in the classroom or workplace is the same standard for behavior in social media use. Be sure to use privacy settings to control access to your professional account, and no personally identifiable student information may be posted without the consent of the student's parents. So how about some of those other great apps and tools on the web? You may have seen some pretty cool tools out there to create multimedia presentations. Can you use them in your classroom? That's a great question. There's a lot to consider before using an online tool with your students. Before using any tool, you should become familiar with the Freedom of Information and Privacy Act. FIPA.bc.ca is a great place to start. You might be surprised, but most web tools require parental consent to use them. There are often age restrictions and personal accounts required for students to use them. You need to have your bases covered and make sure you have communicated with parents why you are using the tool and have appropriate parental consent forms signed prior to using the tool. Here are some things to consider. The nature of the provider. Is it Canadian, foreign, or even open source? What personal data is required to create an account? Read the end user license agreement. Don't simply click agree. Know what you're getting yourself into. Check and read the privacy policy. What is the nature of interaction and collaboration on the site? Are your students safe? Consider the user profile you will be creating. Set your site and control settings to keep personal information safe. Make sure the tool is credible. Thoroughly check reviews with educators who have experience with the tool. And finally, consider your district's current guidelines and policy and make sure it is appropriate. Check with your supervisor or administrator to make sure it is a tool approved by your district. It may seem like using web-based apps, tools, and social media is a daunting task to undertake, but when you consider the social media guidelines and are complying with the Freedom of Information and Privacy Act, there's a lot of potential in using current technologies in the classroom. Emerging digital tools and technologies are providing exciting possibilities and developments for education.